Good morning, everyone. My name is Sarah Walker, and I'm a member of the board here at QUUF. Welcome to this day with Quimper Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, a liberal religious congregation founded in 1976 and bound together to serve religious freedom, caring community, and social justice. As we gather, I acknowledge that the water, land, and shorelines here in Port Townsend are the traditional territory of the S'Klallam and Chimicum peoples. We honor and acknowledge our indigenous members and neighbors and vow to help restore and sustain these homelands. If you're visiting today, I offer you a special welcome and invite you to join us for refreshments and conversations in the fellowship hall after the service. We have a newcomers table near the door where our greeters are ready to answer any questions you might have. That's by our patio doors to the right as you exit. So may the welcome we offer you be in equal measure to the one in our hearts. We pause briefly to do some essential business of our congregation. QUUF has for many years supported our neighbors with a holiday giving tree. From children with developmental disabilities to folks who are facing homelessness to kids who are in foster care, QUUF has tried to make their holiday brighter. The giving tree is set up in the fellowship hall down here to the right. And this year, for our online folks, there is also a way to help. From QUUF's homepage, click on the Holiday Giving Tree link on the right, and that will send you to the organizations with whom we are working. Please consider helping our neighbors this season. There are over 40 people in need. Some other essential business of our congregation: scam emails, texts, and even phone calls are especially prevalent during the holiday season when folks are feeling generous. Please remember that QUUF staff and board members will never ask you to buy gift cards, and I can say that I've received these requests before. It sounds like the minister needs your help sometimes. If you think an email is suspicious, always check the email address it's coming from, not just the name. And if you see anything other than @QUUF.org, it's not coming from a QUUF staff member. When in doubt, forward it to Christina, our tech person, at tech@QUUF.org, and she can let you know if it's a legitimate email. Also, please be very cautious who you give the membership directory password to, especially via email. If someone contacts you asking for it, it's best to forward it to Christina for the password than risk scammers getting into our directory information. Now, on to a fun announcement. This Saturday is the next concert in our QUF Presents series. Come hear the Kings of Mongrel Folk, Orville Johnson and Mark Graham, who are wonderful performers. It's sure to be a fun and memorable time. Now let us settle our minds and calm our hearts.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Carol McKinley, and I'm from Olympia, and I am the affiliated community minister at the Olympia UU congregation. And it's so good to be with all of you here at Quimper in Port Townsend. Our opening words come from the Reverend Julia Corbett Haymeyer. She writes, "We come into this sacred space, this hallowed hour, made sacred by our presence and our intention. We come with deep gratitude for everyday blessings, for the dependable changing of the seasons as they follow one another, for smiles and waves and spoken greetings, for being with others in worship, for babies and puppies and kittens, and for the wisdom of the old. Everyday blessings that sustain us every day." Good morning once again, and welcome to this worship service. We light our chalice today with these words from the Reverend Michelle Collins. We light this chalice for eyes that see miracles in mundane moments. May this flame remind us that gratitude grows not through waiting for extraordinary gifts, but through noticing the ordinary blessings that surround us daily. And today, of course, we begin also in the Christian tradition, the Advent season. As we settle into the colder days and longer nights and look forward to the return of the light next month, we've come to the time in our fellowship when we light a new candle every Sunday until Christmas Eve. The flame of each new candle reminds us that something is happening now, but something more is still to come. The light of these candles grows brighter and brighter each Sunday, guiding us toward deeper faith, increased hope, shared joy, and more love. Now I'd like to invite Emma forward to light the first candle. Here she comes. The candle of faith.
We light this first candle for faith, for the choice to gather in community, and the stories that tell us who we are and who we might be, for the wisdom we receive and the insight that breaks in upon us, and for all the things that guide us in living lives that fit our spirit.
Please rise in body or spirit.
We
Young people forward to gather, or any who are young at heart and would like to bend their knees and come up here and sit. All right, come right up. Have a seat. Hi. Our story this morning is called The Ungrateful Sparrow. It's an old folk story, but this particular version was written by Fawaz Haider. So once upon a time, in a very dense forest, lived a group of sparrows. Among them was a young sparrow who was always grumpy and dissatisfied. He was never content with what he had and always wished he had more. He would complain about the food, the nest, the weather, no matter how comfortable and cozy they all were. But his ungrateful, crabby attitude had made him an outcast among the flock of sparrows. So one day, this young sparrow thought, I'm sure I can find better food and a nicer place to live elsewhere. I am so out of here. So he left his flock and flew for miles and miles, until he reached a lush green garden filled with fruits and flowers. The young sparrow was delighted to have found such a beautiful place filled with all this food and said, this will be my new home. So he made himself a nest in the branches of a tall tree, and he started to gorge on the delicious fruits in the garden. He felt very happy and content, but only for a while. Soon his greedy nature took over, and he wanted more. He started to demand more fruits from the trees, and when they didn't give him enough, he became angry and started to peck at the trees. Now, there was a gardener for this garden, and he noticed the damage the young sparrow was causing, and he decided to get rid of him. He set a trap for the bird with the lure in it of some of these wonderful fruits, and he caught him in that cage. The young sparrow was trapped and helpless, and he began to really regret his behavior as he hunched in a corner. Well, cages don't always have corners, sometimes they're round, but he hunched there and regretting his behavior. He wished he had been grateful for the comforts he had before and had never left his flock. Days passed, and the young sparrow was still trapped. He was slumped alone in the cage. He was very discouraged, but he began to think about what he had done. He realized the true value of freedom. He saw he should have been happy with and appreciated what he had left behind. So one day, a wise old sparrow flew by the garden, and he saw that young sparrow trapped in the cage. The old sparrow asked him what happened, and the young sparrow told him his story. The wise old sparrow listened very carefully and then he said, just, young sparrow, be grateful for what you have, and you will always have more. But if you are ungrateful, you will lose what you have. And thus ends our story. And now I invite all of you to form an arch in the center aisle, and let us sing our children out to the classes.
Everywhere. pause now for a time of generosity and to receive an offering to support the life and ministry of QUUF. The ushers will come among us to receive the offering, and additional ways for giving will be projected. Please join me in our offering words. This fellowship is the community of ourselves. Its energy and resources are our energy and resources. Its wealth is what we share. As we contribute to the life of this community, we affirm our lives within it. As we collect the offering, a tune from Quebec by Eric Favreau. This is a time we set aside to share joys and sorrows in our community. We recognize that our personal joys and sorrows are only a fragment of the joys and sorrows of the larger community of life. And thus, we place this first stone, thinking in particular of those for whom the holiday season can be a difficult time for one reason or another. And now within the congregation, we light this candle of thanks for all of those who hosted, cooked, shared food, joined, and cleaned up for our annual Thanksgiving potluck. You all helped continue to share and build our beloved community. We place a final stone, holding in our hearts all the joys and sorrows that go unspoken. Know that we care, however this day finds you. Let me take that for you.
Gratitude for this season of Thanksgiving, I invite you into a time of meditation and prayer. These words, from Kristin Walters-Paintner. Spirit of life and love, as we awaken each morning, help us to remember this day as a gift. This breath is grace. This life, a wonder. Remind us with every flower we see, every act of kindness, every moment of connection, to whisper, thank you. Let us be together for a moment of silence. Amen. So may it be.
Our first reading, Miracle Fair, was written by Wisława Szymborska, the Polish poet and recipient of the 1996 Nobel Prize in Literature. Commonplace miracle, that so many commonplace miracles happen. An ordinary miracle, in the dead of night, the barking of invisible dogs. One miracle out of many, a small, airy cloud, yet it can block a large and heavy moon. Several miracles in one, an alder tree reflected in the water, and that it's backwards, left to right, and that it grows there, crown down, and never reaches the bottom, even though the water is shallow. An everyday miracle, winds weak to moderate, turning gusty into storms. First among equal miracles, cows are cows. Second to none, just this orchard from just that seed. A miracle without a cape and a top hat, scattering white doves. A miracle, for what else would you call it? Today the sun rose at 3:14 and will set at 8:01. A miracle, excuse me, less surprising than it should be, even though the hand has fewer than 6 fingers, it still has more than 4. A miracle, just take a look around. The world is everywhere. An additional miracle, as everything is additional, the unthinkable is thinkable.
Our second reading is from the Reverend Galen Gugarich. He writes, Gratitude is a sense of feeling a deep connection to ourselves, the people around us, and the natural world. A recognition that we are made up of relationships. You know, if you take the physical entities that make up the world and take everything else out and squish them all together, you would literally have only a handful of material. Everything else is relationships. So gratitude is the recognition that everything that makes life possible and meaningful to us comes to us from sources beyond ourselves. And how else could we respond to such a gift other than gratitude? But it also means that we recognize that we owe something back in return to the people and the world around us. So I like to say gratitude is a life of reciprocity. Reciprocity with other people and with the natural world. Our special music this morning is a tune from Port Townsend, Waltz of the Ghosts, played by Otto and Kristin.
This is by Pat Spaeth.
Thank you. Well, of course, this Thanksgiving season is a time where there are lots of expressions of gratitude. So, how did you learn about gratitude? I learned from my parents, who taught me the necessity of saying thank you when someone gave me a gift. Now, that gift could be a toy, an unexpected treat, maybe a compliment about my new outfit. And I learned to express my gratitude by saying thank you. And I was sure to hear from my parents if I didn't say that. Like many of you, I carried those lessons into my adulthood. Thank you for holding the door, for treating me to a coffee at our local coffee shop during our meeting. A smiling wave to the car behind me let me merge into traffic ahead of them. So when we stop to reflect, each of us can recall thanking someone for one of the many small kindnesses we receive from each other during our day, for those necessary acts that keep our social fabric smoothly woven, acts that deepen our connection to each other within our community, and where we recognize that these relationships are always interdependent. Indeed, gratitude fosters connectivity, generosity, and mutuality by recognizing what I have rather than what I do not have, like that ungrateful sparrow in the story. I'm less consumed by me first, by dwelling only on what I want. You no doubt feel that here at Quimper UU Fellowship when you come together and give thanks for being part of this community, for what you are becoming together, and how you experience each person who is continuing to transform a personal life and also work on transforming the social systems that surround us. As important as it is to recognize and respond to the goodness in our lives, I'd like to suggest a new way in which we might think about gratitude, to not only think of it as a reaction, but as a way of seeing and being in this world. Radical gratitude means that we recognize we owe something back in return to the people and to the world around us, acknowledging that everything that makes our lives possible and meaningful comes to something beyond ourselves. Radical gratitude is how we respond to these gifts, how we live a life of reciprocity with other people and with this world we all share. It is not just the casual thank you that comes easily, almost automatically, when all goes smoothly. Radical gratitude calls us to something deeper. And it asks even more of us in today's culture, a culture built on a system that depends upon our constant dissatisfaction. Just think of all those ads for Black Friday. A culture built on scarcity, a scarcity of time, of money, of success. It asks us instead to say, thank you, I have enough. To look at this imperfect, troubled, unfinished, yet beautiful world and say, in spite of it all, I am grateful. And this is radical gratitude, a form of spiritual defiance, even in the face of suffering. It does not mean ignoring suffering, injustice, or pain, but to hold both of those truths at once, the heartbreak and the beauty. To look at this world we share with clear eyes and an open heart. It says, yes, we are seeing the disastrous effects of climate change in the superstorms pummeling our communities, in the wildfires that wipe out our homes and forests. Yet, I am grateful for the beauty of the whole forest, the rainforest, for the ginkgo tree outside my bedroom window. It says, I grieve the injustices perpetrated by racism and ethnic hatred, yet I am so grateful for the people confronting those injustices. It says, yes, I often feel discouraged and just plain tired, yet I am so grateful to be alive in this beautiful world. As difficult as it often is in these unsettled and even frightening times, the practice of gratitude can be a radical act. It challenges us to find those things for which we are grateful, even in a broken, suffering world. It reminds us that gratitude does not deny suffering, but it invites transformation. It invites transformation, and therein lies the radicalism. This fall, I've been meeting each month with a resident at one of our state institutions, a Department of Social and Health Services facility created to house residents in need of inpatient mental health treatment. Each resident has been found not guilty of a crime by reason of insanity and acquitted of the charge against them when the court determines the person was not able to tell right from wrong due to their mental state at the time of the offense. This type of forensic patient typically experienced severe symptoms of mental illness at the time of the offense, which gravely impaired their capacity to perceive reality or to think clearly. As a result, even after being charged and with a crime, they are committed to the custody of the Department of Social and Health Services rather than to a correctional facility or prison. And this past summer, I was invited by this facility's chaplain to visit with a resident who specifically requested to talk with a Unitarian Universalist. On my scheduled Friday visits, I arrive at the secured institution enclosed by fencing topped with razor wire, and no one is admitted to this facility without a deep background check and without authorization from someone on the staff. As I enter the grounds, I check in at security, and I'm accompanied by the chaplain to my meeting with the resident. And as I'm walking along to this facility, I reflect on the lives of the now 100 persons inside those fences, how they're facing and processing what comprises their lives at this point, and how mental health treatment might transform their lives. Wondering if they're thinking about how or if they can imagine a time when they might return to their former homes, their broken relationships. Now, to tell the truth, this is not a place that inspires hope, or it doesn't inspire optimism, although it holds the possibility of hope. Yet, I feel gratitude for my experience there, for this new connection with the resident I talk with in a glass-enclosed meeting room, for being in a place that, even as it is defined as a behavioral health facility, is secured like a prison for the safety of the residents and staff. And I am grateful for the opportunity to meet with this person and get a deeper perspective on how mental illness has shaped the life of this one person. How a government program, a state government program, is, however imperfectly, attempting to address mental illness and its impact on our society. I'm also grateful for our conversations that reveal the intellectual and the creative side of a person who, in another era, in another country, would have been cast aside as merely criminal and disposable. During my visits, I have become increasingly impressed with this resident's thoughtful questions and eagerness to engage in questions about this tradition, especially the role of humanism in Unitarian Universalism. And I have to admit, as a result, to prepare for our conversations, I've had to spend some time rereading and brushing up on my understanding of the Humanist Manifesto and some of that philosophy's Unitarian Universalist writers and philosophers. So, how do I practice gratitude at such times and in such a place? I am again reminded that gratitude does not mean ignoring pain or suffering. It means I am ignoring the suffering of those individuals living there. I acknowledge the suffering while recognizing that life continues to hold possibilities, the wonder of new connections, even while offering challenges. It means refusing to separate the sacred from the everyday, recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of the person who sits across from me. Now, perhaps each one of you have faced your own challenges. It might be the loss of a job, estrangement from a family member, changing physical abilities because of age. Even as the reality and pain of such challenges are acknowledged, can you ask yourself, what is this inviting me toward? What connection, growth, and compassion does it offer me? Now, I must admit I'm a devoted reader of the advice columns in the 2 newspapers I read each morning. So I read Carolyn Hack's and Eric Thomas and Dear Abby. And I notice that quite often the advice those columnists offer to those who are writing in is something that we Unitarian Universalists recognize as one of our theological underpinnings, our interconnectedness. The writer might be lamenting isolation and loneliness, And that advice columnist advises, connect with others through a local faith community. Just imagine that. Or volunteer at the food bank. Take cookies and conversation to a housebound neighbor. To find their need for connection by reaching out to another person through our very human need for community, comfort, and well-being. After all, gratitude blooms when we give something of what and who we are to someone else. We feel gratitude not just for what we receive, but for what we can contribute. And our ultimate gift comes as gratitude and just actions move us together to build relationships, connections, and a deeper community. Robin Wall Kimmerer, in her recent book, The Serviceberry, writes, gratitude is so much more than a polite thank you. It is the thread that connects us in deep relationship, simultaneously physical and spiritual, as our bodies are fed and our spirits nourished by the sense of belonging, our sense of belonging, which is the most vital of foods. An old story, old folk story, is told about a woman who survived great loss. Family members, her home, her sense of security. Yet, she lit a candle every day and whispered, "Thank you." Not because she felt thankful for her losses, but because she wanted to keep her heart open. And over time, that daily act of gratitude did not erase her grief, but it changed her relationship to it. Gratitude became the thread pulling her back to life. And in a way, we're all like that woman. No, we cannot wait until every challenge in this world is resolved to practice gratitude, to mark time until there is no war, no injustice, no poverty, and all beings are content, safe, and secure. Instead, such challenges offer the opportunity to practice radical gratitude as an act of defiance. Radical gratitude, recognizing that in the face of what is taking place in our lives and in this world, we choose to say thank you anyway. Saying, yes, I know this life is not all I hoped it would be, all I wanted, but I can find a way to see goodness in it anyway. The quiet power of radical gratitude does not erase pain, but as I said before, it transforms it. It reminds us to see and feel grateful for daily evidence of connections to all of life. The air we breathe was once the breath of trees, that we ourselves come up with a constellation of connections from people, from water, from sunlight. I found that connection in a poem written by the resident I visit in that institution. A poem written with a permitted pencil rather than with a pen or a computer, and that he copied by hand and gave to me because I had expressed gratitude and appreciation for his poetic eye. It reads, "Heaven is a coffee shop where all the coffee's free. Brevets, lattes, chocolate, one shot or 33. Chess is played by everyone, and everyone you meet thinks that thought itself is fun. Cognition is a treat. Lindor truffles lose you weight, and pizza gets you ripped. Brain and heart both celebrate each time a milkshake's sipped. God rewards those who believe what evidence suggests, even if confused they be. God knows they did their best." And of course, we all do our best. Radical gratitude is deep, intentional, and life-shifting. It matters because it transforms us, brings us back into relationship with others and our communities. So how can we cultivate radical gratitude to strengthen our own compassion, for capacity, for resilience, for joy? First, we remember that even as events may be out of control, we choose how to respond to those events, with awareness, with humility, and with love. Today, I invite you to pause your thought for a moment, take a deep breath, and notice one small thing for which you are grateful. Might be your morning coffee. That's something I'm always grateful for. The person who greeted you as you entered QUUF this morning. Your gratitude for your health and for this beautiful sunny day. Here are some suggestions to help you cultivate radical gratitude at home. In the morning quiet of each day, think of and then name one difficult thing for which you are grateful. And as you move into your day, thank someone who doesn't expect it. Then offer appreciation not for what is perfect, but for what is real. Such practices may not come easy at first, but the more you express gratitude on a daily basis, the more natural it becomes. So even if it feels forced, stick with it. As we know, nothing can stop the flow of life containing joy, suffering, pain, delight, and happiness. Radical gratitude reminds us that this world, so imperfect, is still worth loving. It reminds us that we, imperfect as we are still capable of curiosity, wonder, and love. Then think about how gratitude becomes a practice of justice and compassion. By expressing gratitude for this earth, we're then moved to join with others to protect it, no longer accepting systems that exploit or destroy it. By expressing radical gratitude for each other, ask yourself, what am I grateful for that I take for granted? We are strengthening this community. By living with thanks for this gift of life for each other, we are keeping hope alive in this world. And that gift is a reminder of the spiritual work we must do, staying awake, seeing the world as it is, recognizing our interdependence within this great web of all life. So as you enjoy cookies, or maybe even 2 cookies, or whatever treat you have following this service, let it be a reminder that every bit of food, the hands that baked those cookies, every act of kindness shown to each other is a reminder that we are part of that web. A miracle. Just take a look around. The world is everywhere, wrote the poet Wisława von Szomborska. Wisława. She wrote that in her poem, Miracle Fair, you heard earlier. A commonplace miracle that so many commonplace miracles happen. And all we have to do is be grateful for those miracles, and especially on this Thanksgiving weekend, to share that gratitude with others. Amen, and so may it be. And now, I invite you to rise in body, spirit, and or, and join in singing our closing hymn. Sing and rejoice.
Sing and rejoice. Our closing song is a round. It's a 4-part round, so we're going to try to do 4 parts today. We've got 4 leaders. I'm going to lead number 1. Pat's going to be 2. We've got Kristin on 3 and Otto on 4. So we'll sing it through twice all together, and then we'll round it. Let's round it 3 times. So by the time you're done, you'll really know it. All right, all together twice here. Sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice. Let all things living now sing and rejoice. Sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice. Let all things living now sing and rejoice. Sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice. Let all things living now sing and rejoice. Sing and rejoice. Let all things living now sing and rejoice. Sing and rejoice. Sing and rejoice. Let all things living now sing and rejoice. Sing and rejoice. Sing and rejoice. Let all things living now sing and rejoice. Sing and rejoice.
Yeah.
You all sounded great. Today, may we go forth from this place thankful for the life that sustains and renews us, and be open to the grace that surrounds and surprises us. May we go forth from this place with openness and with thanksgiving. And now, as we go with our extinguishing of the chalice, please join with the words that are projected on the screen. We extinguish our flame, but not